Introduction. Continued. But here's the truth most people never face. Your life does not collapse because the world is against you. Your life collapses because you abandon yourself. You lose focus. You chase noise. You drift into comparison. You forget the power you hold in your choices, your thoughts, your habits, your discipline, and slowly, quietly, almost invisibly, your life begins to move in directions you never consciously chose. This is how people wake up one day and realize they've been living someone else's expectations. This is how they drift into relationships that drain them, jobs that numb them, habits that weaken them, patterns that shrink them, not because they wanted that life, but because they were distracted while it formed. The Stoics warned about this more than 2,000 years ago. They understood that the greatest danger to a human being is unconscious living, moving through life without awareness, without intention, without sovereignty over the self. They said, a person is not free unless they control themselves. Freedom to them was not the ability to do whatever you want. It was the ability to not be owned, not by impulses, not by fears, not by external pressures, not by comparison, not by distractions, not even by your own emotions. And that is why Stoicism begins with a simple but powerful command. Focus on yourself, not selfishly, not arrogantly, not in isolation, but in mastery. Focus on your mind so it becomes sharp rather than scattered. Focus on your habits so they become anchors rather than weights. Focus on your character so it becomes consistent rather than reactive. Focus on your time so it becomes intentional rather than wasted. Focus on your path so you walk forward instead of sideways. Because the moment you shift your focus inward, everything outward begins to fall into place. The Stoics knew that you cannot control the world, but you can control the one thing that will shape your experience of the world, your inner self. And that is why this script, this message, this journey is not about chasing success, wealth, validation, or applause. Those things may come, but only as a byproduct. This is about building the kind of person who can handle all of it with calm, with clarity, and with unshakable strength. A person who does not break when life becomes heavy. A person who does not bend when others doubt them. A person who does not lose their way no matter how loud the world becomes. This is about becoming someone whose foundation is so solid that circumstances no longer determine your state of mind. Because the truth is this, when you master yourself, life no longer controls you. You control how you move through life. You become centered in a world that is constantly pulling people off balance. You become stable in a world that rewards impulsiveness. You become disciplined in a world that glorifies ease. You become calm in a world addicted to chaos. You become focused in a world engineered for distraction. This is why focusing on yourself is not just good advice. It is a complete transformation of the way you exist. And if you truly commit to these Stoic lessons, not just understanding them, but practicing them, embodying them, living them, you will become someone that very few things in this world can disturb, mislead, or break. Now, let us begin this journey through the 12 Stoic lessons, each one a tool, a weapon, a shield, a compass, all designed to help you regain control of the one empire that will always belong to you, yourself. Lesson 1. Control what you can. Release what you can't. If there is one principle that carries the entire weight of Stoicism on its shoulders, it is this. Control is the doorway to freedom. The Stoics believed that almost all human suffering comes from confusing what we wish to control with what we actually can. And nothing drains a life faster, nothing steals more energy, more peace, more clarity than pouring your effort into things that lie completely outside your influence. But most people never realize they're doing it. They spend their lives wrestling shadows instead of shaping their reality. And this is why the Stoics taught this principle first, because until you understand this distinction, your life will always feel heavier than it needs to be. The two circles of life. Imagine two circles in front of you. One is small and bright, glowing, close, and warm. The other is large, dark, and hazy, stretching endlessly in every direction. The small circle contains things you can actually control: your thoughts, your actions, your habits, your responses, your effort, your discipline, your values, your focus, your character. This is your kingdom, your inner empire. Then there is the large, foggy, overwhelming circle, the one containing everything you cannot control: what others think, what others do, how people treat you, the past, the future, the economy, your boss, your partner's emotions, the weather traffic outcomes, luck, fate, timing. This circle is infinite, and the more time you spend living inside it, the more powerless you feel, because it responds to none of your effort. Most people spend their entire lives in the wrong circle. They obsess over the world outside themselves and neglect the world within themselves. They try to control people instead of controlling their own behavior. They try to predict outcomes instead of preparing their character. They try to force events instead of mastering their response to events. This is why they crumble. This is why they burn out. This is why they feel lost, frustrated, and defeated. Because the more you try to control what isn't yours, the more you lose control of what is. The power shifts when you shift. But the moment you return your attention to the inner circle, to your mind, your choices, your habits, your effort, you begin to reclaim your power. Suddenly, chaos becomes manageable. Challenges become opportunities. Stress becomes data. Obstacles become training. Uncertainty becomes fuel. Life becomes simpler, not easier, but clearer. You begin to realize that nothing out there needs to change for in here to strengthen. You don't need people to agree with you. You don't need the world to understand you. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need guarantees. You don't need applause. You only need to decide who you want to be in the face of what life brings. That decision is yours. It has always been yours, and it will always be yours. Why? This lesson comes first, because if you don't master this, you won't master anything else. You cannot build discipline if you're focused on things outside your control. You cannot build inner peace if your emotions depend on circumstances. You cannot build confidence if you measure success by outcomes instead of effort. You cannot grow if you're anchored to things that refuse to respond to you. The foundation of Stoicism is not emotionlessness. It is not apathy. It is not detachment from life. It is clarity, knowing where to place your energy so it multiplies rather than drains you. When you focus on what you control, life becomes lighter, not because the world gets easier, but because you stop carrying what was never yours. Your real power begins here. So pause, take one breath, and ask yourself a question the Stoics asked every day. Is this within my control? If the answer is yes, act with full strength. If the answer is no, release it without hesitation. That single question will save you years of wasted emotion, years of unnecessary suffering, years of fighting battles that were never yours. Your life will expand the moment your control narrows, because you finally understand that the only thing you ever needed to master is yourself. Lesson 2. The Stoic Art of Presence. Live where life actually happens. Modern life pulls your mind in every possible direction. Forward into the future, backward into the past, sideways into comparison, and downward into fear. But rarely, almost never, does it pull you into the only place where your life can actually be lived, the present moment. The Stoics believed that nearly all human suffering begins the moment we abandon the present, because the present is real. The present is actionable. The present is controllable. The present is alive. Everything else, the past, the future, the imagined scenarios, is a mental projection. The Stoics warned that if you live too much in those projections, you will miss the only moment that carries any power. The present is your anchor. Marcus Aurelius left himself a reminder in Meditations. Confine yourself to the present. Not because the future is unimportant, but because the future can only be shaped from the present. You cannot improve tomorrow if today is wasted. You cannot rewrite the past, but you can learn from it in this moment. You cannot solve problems that exist only as predictions, worries, or assumptions, but you can solve the problems right in front of you if you're actually here to face them. When you live in the present moment, your mind sharpens. Your decisions simplify. Your inner voice quiets. Your focus deepens. The noise of the world fades into something distant and manageable. This moment becomes your anchor, your home, your training ground. The enemy of presence, mental time, travel. The Stoics understood something most people never notice. You exhaust yourself not by living your life, but by living your fears, memories, and fantasies instead. You wake up, but your mind stays asleep in yesterday. You walk into work, but your mind is still rehearsing problems that haven't happened. You talk to someone, but your mind is running a separate private conversation in the background. You're eating, but you're thinking about deadlines. You're resting, but you're imagining scenarios that haven't occurred. Your body is present, but your attention is everywhere else. And the Stoics believed this was a tragedy, not because the mind shouldn't wander, but because a wandering mind becomes a suffering mind when left untrained. The more your attention is scattered, the weaker your agency becomes. You lose the ability to choose your actions deliberately. You lose the ability to see life clearly. You lose the ability to channel your energy toward what matters. Presence is not a spiritual luxury. It is a practical advantage. Return to the now. The Stoic Method. The Stoics were not monks, not hermits, not philosophers sitting peacefully with incense burning. They were generals, emperors, slaves, soldiers, politicians, people living real lives with real stress. Here are their methods. 1. Observe without judgment. The Stoics practiced noticing their environment with clear eyes. The texture of the air, the sound of footsteps, the warmth of sunlight, the feeling of breath entering the lungs. These small observations bring you back into yourself, back into your senses, back into the real world. You can't be anxious and present at the same time. 2. Name your distractions. When your mind drifts, don't fight it. The Stoics would simply name the distraction: worry, memory, fear, expectation. Naming the thought removes its power over you. It becomes an object you're observing, not a force controlling you. 3. Commit fully to what you're doing. If you are working, work. If you are resting, rest. If you are speaking to someone, truly speak to them. If you are eating, eat, don't scroll. Multitasking is the enemy of mastery. Presence transforms ordinary tasks into elevated ones. 4. Use the morning as a reset. The Stoics believed that each morning is a rebirth, a clean page, a reset of the mind, a renewed opportunity to live with intention. If yesterday stole your peace, today can return it. But only if you meet today as today, not as yesterday's shadow. What happens when you stop living everywhere else? When you learn to truly live in the present moment? Your relationships deepen, your work improves, your anxiety decreases, your mind clears, your purpose sharpens, your confidence grows, your discipline strengthens, your sense of time expands. Most importantly, you finally experience your life, not as a blur, not as a reaction, but as a conscious, deliberate existence. Presence gives you the life you're trying so hard to find. Why this lesson matters? Because the Stoics knew something profound. You cannot change your life in the past, and you cannot live your life in the future. You can only shape your life in the present moment. But most people aren't even here for it. The more present you become, the more powerful your choices become. You stop running. You stop resisting. You stop overthinking. You stop anticipating. You stop reliving. You start living. Lesson 3. Emotional resilience. Building the inner fortress. Stoicism isn't about suppressing emotions. It's not about becoming cold, robotic, indifferent, or detached from life. That is a common misunderstanding, a surface-level interpretation from people who have never stepped inside the philosophy. Stoicism is about mastery, not numbness. It's about learning to feel everything without being ruled by anything. It's about creating an inner fortress strong enough to withstand the storms of life without collapsing into bitterness, panic, rage, or despair. The Stoics didn't deny that storms would come. They simply prepared for them. They believed the world would test you ruthlessly, through loss, through uncertainty, through betrayal, through pressure, through expectations, through adversity. And so, they insisted, build your inner world stronger than the forces trying to break it. The world will not slow down, so you must learn to stand firm. Life will not apologize before it hurts you. It will not consult you before it changes direction. It will not coordinate with your plans or preferences. The Stoics accepted this early. They understood that the world is chaotic, and that no amount of avoidance, complaining, or wishful thinking will protect you from its unpredictability. That's why emotional resilience is not optional. It is essential, because without it, you become fragile, easily offended, easily discouraged, easily manipulated, easily overwhelmed. But with it, you become unshakable, not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger. The Stoic view: you can't control emotions, but you can control responses. Epictetus said it clearly. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. The Stoics knew that emotions appear automatically. They come uninvited. They rise naturally from instincts, memories, fears, and interpretations. You can't stop them from emerging. But you can choose what happens next. This gap, the space between stimulus and response, is where power lives. It's where maturity forms. It's where character is shaped. It's where resilience is born. A Stoic doesn't try to eliminate emotions. A Stoic tries to pause, reflect, and steer them. That pause is the inner fortress. The 4 pillars of the Stoic fortress: 1. Awareness. Notice the emotion without merging with it. The first step to resilience is recognizing your emotional state without becoming consumed by it. Anger says, react immediately. Fear says, avoid everything. Sadness says, shut down. Anxiety says, catastrophize. But awareness says, I see the emotion, I will not obey it. Once you notice the emotion, it loses its ability to hijack your behavior. 2. Interpretation. Replace assumptions with reason. The Stoics taught that we suffer more from imagination than reality. So ask, is this true? Is this permanent? Is this personal? Is this worth my peace? You neutralize emotional storms by questioning their logic. Most collapse under scrutiny. 3. Choice. Respond in alignment with your values. A Stoic doesn't react impulsively. They act deliberately. Before responding, ask, what is the virtuous action here? What does my best self do? What outcome do I want to create? What action aligns with the person I'm trying to become? Your response becomes a reflection of your character, not your mood. 4. Stability. Hold your ground when the world pushes back. Resilience grows through repetition. Anyone can stay calm when life is gentle. But the fortress is tested in hardship. Each time you endure discomfort with clarity, each time you choose patience over anger, each time you stay grounded under pressure, your inner walls grow thicker, your foundation grows deeper, your presence grows stronger. Resilience is built brick by brick. The Stoic practice of reframing. One of the Stoics' most powerful emotional tools is the ability to reinterpret challenges, not in a fake, positive vibes-only way, but in a strong, rational, empowering way. They would ask, what is this trying to teach me? How can this hardship strengthen me? How can I use this instead of resenting it? What advantage does this obstacle offer? Marcus Aurelius called obstacles opportunities in disguise. Seneca called hardships training for the soul. Epictetus said that adversity reveals your true strength. When you learn to reframe pain, you stop collapsing under it and start rising through it. An unbreakable mind is built, not born. Most people let emotions control them. Stoics learn to control their inner world. Most people panic when life gets hard. Stoics prepare for difficulty in advance. Most people break under pressure. Stoics turn pressure into expansion. You can do the same. Every day you face challenges that can build resilience. The delay that tests your patience, the criticism that tests your ego, the uncertainty that tests your composure, the inconvenience that tests your flexibility, the obstacle that tests your discipline, the temptation that tests your values. Each moment is a rep. Each rep strengthens the fortress. Resilience grows with use. Why? This lesson matters because without emotional resilience, small problems feel massive, minor inconveniences become crises. Other people's moods control your inner state. Your goals collapse under emotional turbulence. But with emotional resilience, you become a calm force. You make decisions from clarity, not chaos. You turn difficulty into advantage. You react less and choose more. You stop being controlled by the world and start controlling your response to it. This is why Stoicism is still relevant today. In an age of overstimulation, anxiety, and emotional volatility, the inner fortress is not outdated, it is desperately needed. And you can start building it today. Lesson 4. The power of detachment. Free yourself to live boldly. One of the most misunderstood Stoic teachings is detachment. People hear the word and imagine someone withdrawing from life, rejecting relationships, avoiding ambition, or suppressing any form of desire or joy. But that isn't Stoicism, not even close. Stoic detachment does not mean caring less. It means caring without clinging. It means loving without losing yourself. It means striving without being destroyed by the outcome. It means showing up fully while understanding that you cannot hold anything permanently. Stoic detachment is the art of engagement with freedom. It's the understanding that you can give your best effort, your full passion, your entire heart, while still keeping your peace intact even if things don't go your way. It is not the absence of involvement. It is the absence of desperation. The Stoic idea: hold everything lightly. The Stoics believe this world is made of borrowed things. You borrow relationships. You borrow opportunities. You borrow time. You borrow your body. You borrow experiences. You borrow everything you think you own. You enter the world empty-handed, and you leave the same way. Nothing here belongs to you permanently. So why cling? Why grasp? Why panic when things change? Why break when something ends? Detachment isn't coldness. It's clarity. It's understanding the temporary nature of life so deeply that you stop fighting reality and start flowing with it. The weight of attachment. Attachment is what causes suffering, not the desire itself, not the relationship itself, not the goal itself, but the clinging. When you cling to something, you create fear. Fear of losing it, fear of it changing, fear of being without it, and fear amplifies suffering. Attachment also creates pressure. You aren't just trying to enjoy something. You're trying to control it, shape it, preserve it, force it. Because the tighter you hold on to something, detachment gives you strength, not weakness. Most people believe detachment will make their life emptier. But the opposite is true. Detachment gives you one clearer decision, making you no longer make choices from fear, insecurity, desperation, or emotional chaos. You make them from reason and values. 2. Emotional stability. You stop being controlled by outcomes. Your inner world stays intact, regardless of what happens externally. 3. Healthier relationships. You stop demanding from people what they cannot give. You love them more freely, honestly, and gently. 4. Freedom from fear. When you stop clinging to things, you stop fearing their loss. You become bold, willing to try, risk, grow, and change. 5. Unshakable confidence. You trust yourself more because your peace does not depend on external conditions. Detachment doesn't make life smaller, it makes life bigger. The Stoic practice of the reserve clause. The Stoics handled uncertainty with a brilliant method. I will do everything within my power, fate permitting. This isn't surrender, it's sanity. You give your full effort, but you remain mentally prepared for the possibility that things might unfold differently than expected. If success comes, wonderful. If failure comes, you remain whole. If plans change, you adapt swiftly. If loss occurs, you grieve, but you're not destroyed. The reserve clause protects your peace without weakening your commitment. The difference between love and attachment. Stoics believed you could love deeply without being attached. Love says, I appreciate your presence. Attachment says, I need you to stay exactly as you are. Love says, I choose you today. Attachment says, I demand you forever. Love says, I will grow with you. Attachment says, you cannot change or I will suffer. Love is freedom. Attachment is fear. And fear is what the Stoics wanted to free you from. The art of letting things flow. One of the most powerful Stoic ideas is that life flows like a river. Some things enter your life. Let them enter. Some things move through your life. Let them move. Some things leave your life. Let them leave. Trying to stop the river is impossible. Trying to control the direction of the water is exhausting. Trying to freeze a moment in time is tragic. But when you accept the flow, you move with life instead of against it. You remain centered while the world changes around you. That is the essence of Stoic detachment. The power you gain when you release control, when you detach from outcomes. You can speak honestly because you're not afraid of losing approval. You can pursue excellence because you're not afraid of mistakes. You can challenge yourself because you're not afraid of failure. You can open your heart because you're not afraid of heartbreak. You can let life expand because you're not afraid of impermanence. Detachment makes you courageous. It gives you the ability to take risks, to evolve continuously, to grow without self-sabotage, to face reality without fear. Why this lesson matters. Because emotional freedom is one of the rarest forms of power. Most people are prisoners of attachment. They hold on too tightly. They demand too much control. They fear too many outcomes. But the Stoic who masters detachment walks through life lighter, stronger, clearer. They engage fully, but cling to nothing. They love deeply, but remain whole within themselves. They pursue goals intensely, but stay at peace when outcomes shift. They flow with life instead of wrestling against it. That is true freedom. That is true strength. That is the power of Stoic detachment. Lesson 5. The discipline of self-mastery. Become your own leader. If Stoicism could be reduced to one central mission, one goal that all their teachings orbit around, one power that the ancient philosophers saw as the root of all greatness, it would be this: master yourself. Not the world, not other people, not circumstances, not the future, not outcomes, yourself. Because the Stoics knew a person who cannot govern themselves will eventually be governed by impulses, habits, fears, and external forces. They become reactive instead of strategic, chaotic instead of intentional, easily swayed instead of grounded, easily provoked instead of composed, easily manipulated instead of self-directed. Self-mastery is the antidote to this weakness. It is the ability to steer your own mind, your own actions, your own reactions, your own choices, your own behavior, even when everything around you begs you to lose control. This was not optional for the Stoics. It was the foundation of everything the enemy within, the untrained self. The Stoics believed your greatest enemy is not the world outside you, but the world within you. It's your impulses that sabotage progress. It's your fears that block opportunities. It's your desires that distract you from your purpose. It's your laziness that kills potential. It's your ego that prevents growth. It's your excuses that keep you stagnant. If you do not master yourself, you will spend your life being ruled by parts of your mind that don't care about your future. They care about comfort. They care about pleasure. They care about avoidance. They care about the path of least resistance. The Stoics refuse to let these forces lead them. Self-mastery is not harshness. It's leadership. Many misunderstand discipline as cruelty toward oneself, but the Stoics didn't see discipline as punishment. They saw it as empowerment. Self-mastery is choosing what matters over what is easy, what is right, over what is comfortable, what is long-term, over what is immediate, what builds you over what weakens you. It's not about denying joy. It's about denying self-destruction. It's not about restricting life, it's about directing life. You become your own leader, your own guardian, your own coach, your own protector. And once you govern yourself, no one else can ever govern you again. The Stoic method. Command your mind before your mind commands you. The Stoics taught practical habits that anyone can use to build self-mastery. 1. Watch your mind. Like an observer. Don't fuse with every thought. Don't obey every impulse. Don't accept every story your mind tells you. Observe your mind the way a wise parent watches a child, with clarity, calmness, and awareness. This simple shift breaks the automatic cycle of reactivity to practice voluntary discomfort. The Stoics trained their inner strength deliberately: cold exposure, hard physical labor, fasting, giving up luxuries, choosing simplicity, doing tasks they disliked. Why? Because the person who can endure chosen discomfort can survive unchosen discomfort. They train themselves to be stronger than their impulses and braver than their fears. 3. Reinforce your standards. Daily self-mastery is maintained through repetition. The Stoics reviewed their behavior every night. How did I act? Where did I fall short? What can I improve tomorrow? Did I live according to my principles? They didn't judge themselves harshly. They simply refined daily. Mastery grows through consistent correction. 4. Act according to virtue, not emotion. The Stoics believe the highest form of strength is the ability to choose your actions based on values, not moods. Anyone can act with discipline when they feel like it. Mastery is action without dependence on emotion. You don't wait to be motivated. You don't wait to feel ready. You act because your values demand it. That is true discipline. 5. Eliminate what weakens. Use self-mastery also means knowing what drains your potential. Toxic habits, unhealthy environments, addictive pleasures, people who encourage your worst behavior, routines that feed your laziness, thoughts that sabotage your confidence. The Stoics removed what corrupted their character with the same seriousness as removing poison. You cannot build strength while living inside your weaknesses. The beauty of mastery, a life you can trust yourself. When you cultivate self-mastery, your life begins to transform in profound ways. You gain consistency. People can rely on you. You can rely on you. You gain direction. No more drifting. No more confusion. You know what you're working toward. You gain confidence, not hype-based confidence, earned confidence. You gain peace. When you control your actions, life becomes less chaotic. You gain respect. From others, yes. But more importantly, from yourself. Because nothing feels better than knowing you kept the promises you made to yourself. Why this lesson matters? Because without self-mastery, your emotions drive your actions. Your impulses shape your habits. Your fears limit your opportunities. Your excuses run your life. But with self-mastery, you can build any habit. You can overcome any weakness. You can shape any future. You can handle any adversity. You can pursue any calling. The Stoics believed mastery of the self is the foundation of mastery in anything else. Control your mind and you control your life. Lead yourself and the world can never lead you astray. Lesson 6. Control what you can, release what you can't. The core of Stoic power. If there is one principle that defines Stoicism, one idea that every Stoic philosopher returned to again and again, one truth that can instantly reduce your suffering and multiply your strength. It is this: control what you can, release what you cannot. Simple, but not easy. This single principle is the dividing line between people who remain emotionally imprisoned and people who move through life with calm, grounded authority. It is the difference between wasting your energy and directing it, between drowning in life and navigating life. Between chaos and clarity, the Stoics believed that most human misery comes from trying to control the uncontrollable. You cannot control other people. You cannot control outcomes. You cannot control the past. You cannot control nature. You cannot control luck. You cannot control opinions. You cannot control the future. But you can control your actions, your mindset, your effort, your attitude, your character, your discipline, your interpretation, your response. This is where your power is. This is where your peace is. This is where your freedom begins. The Great Divide. What's internal versus what's external? Epictetus, a former slave turned philosopher, began his teachings with a razor-sharp distinction. Some things are up to us, some things are not. That is the Stoic worldview in its purest form. What is up to you? Your choices, your virtues, your behavior, your perspective. What is not up to you? Everything else. This might sound harsh, but it is actually incredibly liberating. Because once you stop trying to control the things that were never yours to control, your energy returns, your clarity returns, your confidence returns, your sanity returns. You stop fighting, losing battles. You stop arguing with reality. You stop exhausting yourself over the inevitable. You reclaim your life. Most people waste their strength on the wrong side of the divide. Think about how much control people think they have. They try to control other people's behavior. They try to control how they're perceived. They try to control whether people stay or leave. They try to control circumstances. They try to control timing. They try to control outcomes. They try to control what's already happened. And what happens? They fail. They burn out. They resent life. They resent others. They resent themselves. Not because life is cruel, but because they were pouring effort into the impossible. The Stoics refused to live that way. They didn't waste energy trying to eliminate uncertainty. They built themselves to handle uncertainty. They didn't waste time trying to shape the world. They shaped their inner world. They didn't waste years trying to change others. They changed themselves. That is real strength. Where peace comes from, acceptance of reality. The Stoics weren't passive. They were realists. Acceptance doesn't mean giving up. Acceptance means seeing clearly. It means acknowledging that some things are final, some things are outside your reach. Some things will never unfold the way you hoped. This isn't pessimism. It's alignment with truth. Once you accept reality, you can work with it instead of against it. You can navigate life as it is, not as you wish it were. This shift alone can remove unimaginable suffering, because the pain of non-acceptance is far worse than the pain of reality. The Stoic power move, redirect your effort. The Stoics didn't say, stop caring about life. They said, stop caring about the things beyond your command. Imagine how different your life becomes when you stop fighting battles you can't win and start investing fully in the battles you can. You might not control the job market, but you control how skilled you become. You might not control whether people respect you, but you control how respectable you are. You might not control the timing of opportunities, but you control your readiness for them. You might not control the future, but you control how you show up today. This principle turns you from a victim of circumstances into an architect of your character. The emotional benefit. You become untouchable. When you stop trying to control the uncontrollable, You stop being controlled by it. This is how Stoics became so steady, so composed, so grounded under pressure. Because nothing external had the power to shake their internal world. Someone disrespects you? You don't control them, but you control your dignity. Plans fall apart? You don't control outcomes, but you control adaptation. Life throws difficulty your way? You don't control the obstacle, but you control the path you choose through it. When you focus your energy on the internal, you become emotionally untouchable, not numb, just unshaken. The Stoic practice, a daily question. The Stoics train this principle daily with one simple question: is this within my control or not? And then, if yes, act with full force. If no, release it without hesitation. It is a filter that clarifies everything: your choices, your priorities, your relationships, your goals, your emotions, your reactions. It trims away unnecessary suffering and leaves only what you can truly influence. Why this lesson matters? Because no matter how strong you become, no matter how disciplined, wise, or ambitious you are, life will still hand you situations utterly beyond your control. But those situations cannot break you unless you give them that power. When you master the Stoic distinction between what is yours and what is not, you become someone the world cannot manipulate. You conserve your energy. You reclaim your peace. Lesson 7. The Stoic approach to fear. Walk toward, not away. Fear is one of the oldest chains that bind humanity. It whispers that the unknown is dangerous, that failure is devastating, that loss is unbearable. Most people spend their lives avoiding fear. They avoid risks. They avoid responsibility. They avoid growth. They cling to comfort, routines, and illusions of safety. The Stoics saw this differently. Fear is not a signal to retreat. It is a signal to act wisely. It is a teacher pointing out what matters. It is a mirror showing what we value most and what we must face to become stronger. The nature of fear? Fear is natural. It is instinctual. It protects the body in moments of immediate danger. But most of our fears today are not physical. They are psychological. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of loss, fear of rejection, fear of uncertainty. These fears are often exaggerated. They are amplified by imagination. They create suffering before the event even occurs. The Stoics taught that the mind often makes the future worse than it is. Epictetus said, "It's not things themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them." Fear is a judgment, and judgments can be trained, corrected, and mastered. Walk toward, not away. The Stoic solution is simple, radical, and empowering. Do not flee fear. Face it deliberately. When fear arises, ask, what exactly am I afraid of? Is this within my control? What is the worst realistic outcome? How can I act with courage regardless? By examining fear clearly, we remove the illusions that paralyze us. We see the true shape of the danger. We see what is manageable. We see what is beyond our control and can release it. Then we act. Acting in the presence of fear is the path to mastery. The Stoics did not wait to feel brave. They acted, and courage followed. Courage is a habit, not a feeling. Fear as training ground. Imagine fear as a weight in the gym of the soul. Each time you face it, your inner strength grows. Each time you choose action over retreat, you expand the limits of what you can endure. The Stoics practice this daily, speaking honestly even when confronted, accepting responsibility for difficult decisions, engaging in public service or leadership despite uncertainty. facing personal loss and disappointment with reasoned acceptance. The result is not recklessness. It is composure, it is clarity, it is the ability to respond to life fully without being paralyzed by imagined consequences. The morning ritual against fear. Marcus Aurelius reminds himself each morning, "Today I may encounter difficulties, obstacles, irritations, and misfortune. I will meet them with reason and virtue." This simple framing changes the day. It transforms fear into preparation. It trains the mind to anticipate challenges without panic. It focuses energy on action, not worry. The Stoic approach is not avoidance. It is anticipation with courage, fear, and opportunity. Most opportunities lie behind fear. The moment you hesitate, you lose a chance to grow, to learn, to act. The moment you retreat, the moment becomes wasted. The Stoics teach, if it is worth doing, it is worth feeling fear and acting anyway. Fear becomes a compass, pointing toward areas where character is forged. Fear becomes teacher, shaping discipline, patience, and resilience. Fear becomes a test. Will you shrink or rise? Practical steps to face. Fear. Identify your fear clearly. Write it down. Divide it into controllable and uncontrollable parts. Plan deliberate action on what you can control. Release what you cannot. Act, even if only a small step. Reflect afterward. What did you learn? What did you gain? Repeat. Consistency transforms fear from a tyrant into a teacher. Each confrontation strengthens resolve, sharpens judgment, and builds the habit of courage. The Stoic truth: courage is not the absence of fear. It is action in the presence of fear. Those who live by this principle are no longer ruled by circumstance. They are not paralyzed by the unknown. They face life directly. They endure, adapt, and grow. They transform fear into fuel for mastery. Seneca wrote, "Nothing is more honorable than a grateful mind." Gratitude does not require luxury. It does not depend on external circumstances. Even in hardship, the mind can find elements of good, lessons learned, strength gained, kindness received, opportunities to act rightly. Joy rooted in virtue. The Stoic approach links joy directly to virtue. You are not joyful because of wealth, fame, or comfort. You are joyful because you are living rightly. You are joyful because you act with wisdom, courage, justice, and self-command. Virtue is stable. External circumstances are not. By rooting joy in what you control, your choices, your habits, your intentions, you free yourself from dependence on fortune. External pleasures may come and go. Virtue endures. Joy becomes a steady companion. It is not loud or demanding. It is quiet, deep, and resilient. Daily practices for gratitude. Morning reflection. Begin the day by recognizing what is available to you: health, senses, mind, opportunity. Evening review. Note moments where you acted with integrity, where you learned, where you witnessed beauty. Micro practices. Pause during a meal, a walk, or conversation. Notice the small details often overlooked. Gratitude journaling. Write down 3 things you appreciate each day, ordinary or extraordinary. These practices train the mind to see life as abundant. They sharpen perception. They reduce anxiety. They align attention with value. Gratitude in adversity. Gratitude is most powerful when life is hard. The Stoics faced illness, war, exile, betrayal, and loss. Yet they practiced gratitude even in suffering. Epictetus taught, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for things beyond his control, but who values the gifts within his reach." Gratitude in adversity transforms perception. It does not deny pain. It does not diminish loss. It reframes experience. Challenges become opportunities to exercise courage. Losses become reminders of impermanence, sharpening appreciation for what remains. The joy of contribution, true joy, expands beyond the self. It arises from service, from acting in ways that benefit others. The Stoics believed that humans are social by nature. When you contribute to the well-being of others, you anchor purpose in something larger than desire or personal gain. Gratitude and contribution reinforce each other. The more you act rightly, the more you recognize the value in life. The more you appreciate life, the more effectively you act for good. The Stoic truth: happiness is not pursued. It is the natural outcome of disciplined living, clarity of purpose, and recognition of life's gifts. Joy does not wait for fortune. Joy does not depend on the praise of others. It is available to anyone who trains the mind to notice, appreciate, and act rightly. By practicing gratitude, you reclaim time from neglect. You stop chasing illusions of pleasure. You root attention in what is real, stable, and meaningful. Life becomes vivid. Each moment gains weight. Each day carries depth. Lesson 9. Stoic resilience, enduring and transforming hardship. Life is unpredictable. Even the wisest and most disciplined are tested. Pain, loss, failure, betrayal, these are inevitable. The Stoics did not deny this reality. They did not seek to avoid difficulty. They sought mastery over their response. Resilience is the art of maintaining strength, clarity, and virtue under pressure. It is the bridge between challenge and growth. The nature of hardship. The world is neither fair nor predictable. External events often defy expectation. What is lost cannot always be regained. Plans unravel. Friends fail. Fortune shifts. The Stoics understood that suffering is part of life's structure. Epictetus taught, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Adversity is a test, not a punishment. It reveals character, exercises judgment, and provides opportunity for growth. Control and acceptance. Resilience begins with control. Recognize what is within your command: your thoughts, your actions, your choices. Accept what is beyond control: others' actions, fate, illness, death. Acceptance is not resignation. It is clarity. By distinguishing between what you can change and what you cannot, you conserve energy. You avoid unnecessary struggle and focus on what shapes your life. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Turning hardship into opportunity. Every challenge carries potential. Patience, delay, frustration, or obstacle strengthens endurance. Courage. Confronting fear or danger sharpens fortitude. Judgment. Confusion or conflict trains discernment. Compassion. Witness on a suffering builds empathy and humility. Hardship is the Stoic gym. Every difficulty can be transformed into training for the mind and soul. Daily practices for resilience. Premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. Each morning, visualize possible setbacks or losses. Prepare mentally. Expect challenge. This reduces shock when adversity occurs. Reframing. Ask, what can this situation teach me? Or, how can I act rightly despite this? Reframe difficulty as opportunity. Pause and respond. When provoked, pause before reacting. Observe emotion. Choose action aligned with reason. Anchor in virtue. Remind yourself integrity, courage, justice, and wisdom are within your control. Let them guide each decision. The power of perspective. Resilience grows from perspective. Ask, how will this matter in 1 year, 10 years, at the end of life? Many worries shrink when seen against the span of existence. Trivial inconveniences lose their weight. Focus shifts to what is lasting, not fleeting. Resilience as daily practice. Resilience is not a single heroic act. It is the accumulation of small, disciplined responses. It is the choice to maintain calm in the face of irritation. It is the decision to keep working when progress is slow. It is the willingness to endure discomfort for the sake of growth. Each moment of steady response reinforces the next. Each act of courage, patience, or wisdom builds inner strength. Momentum grows quietly, unseen, but unstoppable. The Stoic truth about hardship, life's challenges, are inevitable. Suffering cannot always be prevented, but through resilience, you shape your experience. You transform obstacles into growth. You preserve your clarity, purpose, and virtue. The Stoic life is not about ease, it is about mastery. Resilience ensures that hardship does not waste your time, scatter your attention, or weaken your soul. Instead, it becomes part of the training that strengthens your character. When practiced daily, resilience is not occasional heroism. It is calm persistence. It is the quiet refusal to be undone by circumstance. It is the inner armor that allows life's storms to pass without destruction. Lesson 10. The Stoic Way to Let Go. Accepting change and mortality. Life is fleeting. Everything changes. Nothing lasts forever. People, possessions, health, reputation, everything shifts with time. The Stoics did not fear this reality. They trained themselves to accept it, not with despair, but with clarity and calm. The nature of change is constant. No circumstance, joy, or success is permanent. Attachment to the temporary creates suffering. When we cling to what cannot last, we set ourselves up for disappointment. The Stoics taught that understanding impermanence is liberating. If everything is in flux, then peace cannot come from external things. It must come from within. Marcus Aurelius reflected, "Observe constantly that all things take place by change, and accustom yourself to consider the nature of the universe as a whole." Acceptance is not passivity. It is alignment with reality. To fight change is to fight life itself. To accept it is to move with reason, not resistance. Mortality as a teacher. Death is the ultimate certainty. Stoics meditated on mortality regularly. Epictetus reminded his students, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things he does not have, knowing that he will lose those he does." Contemplating death is not morbid. It clarifies what truly matters. It sharpens priorities. It motivates action in the present. It frees the mind from trivial concerns. When you remember that your time is limited, distractions lose their pull. You ask yourself, what is worth my attention today? This awareness shapes every choice, every action, every thought. Practices to accept change and mortality. Daily reflection on impermanence. Each evening, consider what changed during the day and what will inevitably pass. Let this cultivate gratitude for the present and detachment from the fleeting. Visualize loss. Consider that people, opportunities, and comforts may be gone tomorrow. This mental rehearsal reduces fear, increases appreciation, and strengthens resilience. Focus on what remains within control. You cannot prevent death or the passing of fortune, but you can choose virtue, effort, and clarity. Anchor life in what is steady, your character and your reasoned action. Detach without disengaging. Let go of obsessive attachment, but still act with care, love, and diligence. Engagement without clinging is a central Stoic practice. Change as an opportunity change brings opportunity as well as challenge. It removes what no longer serves and opens space for growth. Every ending is a chance to start anew. The Stoics embraced each day as a small life, birth, struggle, reflection, and release. By accepting change, you reduce fear and regret. You develop adaptability. You act decisively because you are not paralyzed by clinging to what cannot last. Life, framed by awareness. When mortality is acknowledged, life is lived more fully. Each moment is weighted with awareness. Each decision gains clarity. Every relationship, action, and thought becomes intentional. Stoic acceptance of mortality is not fatalism. It is empowerment. It frees the mind from illusion, waste, and fear. It strengthens purpose and presence. Conclusion of the lesson. Life is fragile. Change is constant. Death is certain. The Stoics faced this truth directly. They cultivated detachment from externals and attachment to virtue. They lived in alignment with reality, not illusion. They trained their minds to act decisively, with courage and with integrity, knowing that every day is a gift. Acceptance of change and mortality is the final shield against a wasted life. It allows every other Stoic discipline, reflection, focus, discipline, resilience, to flourish. It reminds you to act today, to prioritize what is lasting, and to let go of what cannot be held. The Stoic blueprint for a life well lived life is made of days. How you spend each day determines the quality of your life as a whole. The Stoics built a system to live fully, avoid waste, and cultivate virtue. This blueprint takes the lessons you've learned and turns them into actionable daily practices. 1. Value time as life itself. Treat every moment as precious. Guard it like your most valuable possession. Ask each evening, did I spend today with purpose? Limit distractions, shallow entertainment, and empty social noise. 2. Act in the present, the illusion of tomorrow. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. Begin now, even imperfectly. Small actions repeated build momentum, confidence, and clarity. Treat each hour as an opportunity to exercise courage, discipline, and reason. 3. Guard against distraction. Protect attention as a muscle, train it daily. Identify habitual diversions and minimize them. Schedule focused periods for reflection, study, and meaningful work. Use devices, conversation, and entertainment intentionally. 4. Choose worthy pursuits. Align actions with virtue, wisdom, courage, justice, and self-command. Examine whether your efforts strengthen character or serve fleeting desires. Focus on internal goals, not external outcomes. Let your daily work compound into long-term growth. 5. Practice reflection. Daily end each day reviewing thoughts, words, and deeds. Ask, where did I act with clarity? Where did I drift? Keep a journal or use silent contemplation. Correct mistakes and reinforce progress. Reflection strengthens self-awareness, responsibility, and gratitude. 6. Build daily discipline. Set consistent routines for thought, action, and rest. Anchor discipline in small, repeatable acts. Morning intention plus evening review equals a continuous cycle of growth. Daily consistency compounds into resilience, clarity, and inner freedom. 7. Say no with clarity. Protect your time and energy through firm boundaries. Measure commitments against your values. Avoid unnecessary obligations, distractions, and social pressures. Saying no is an act of respect for your purpose and your potential. 8. Cultivate stillness. Reserve periods of quiet, reflection, and undistracted attention. Use stillness to train focus, reduce mental noise, and gain perspective. A still mind sees clearly, responds calmly, and acts decisively. 9. Resist the pull of comparison. Measure your life by effort, reason, and alignment with principles. Avoid measuring yourself against others' achievements or appearances. Focus on improvement, integrity, and personal growth. Comparison wastes attention and energy. Return to what you can control. 10. Accept change and mortality. Embrace impermanence as a teacher, not a threat. Contemplate death to sharpen priorities and strengthen presence. Detach from what cannot last, but engage fully in what matters. Let acceptance free your mind to act with clarity, courage, and virtue. Putting it all together. A daily Stoic routine. Morning, reflect briefly on mortality and impermanence. Set intentions aligned with virtue and purpose. Plan the day with focus on worthy pursuits. Throughout the day, guard attention, avoid distraction and comparison. Act immediately on what can be done now. Practice discipline in speech, thought, and action. Pause for stillness when overwhelmed or reactive. Evening, reflect on your actions, thoughts, and responses. Record lessons, correct errors, and reinforce successes. Express gratitude for what was given and what was achieved. Prepare the mind for rest so the next day begins with clarity. The Stoic promise by following this blueprint. Time is respected, energy is focused, life is intentional, growth is consistent. You cannot control the world, fortune, or the span of life, but you can control your effort, your reason, and your character. Live fully, waste nothing. Let each day be a tool to shape a life that matters. Conclusion: living without regret. Every day is a gift. Every hour is an opportunity to act with reason, courage, and purpose. The Stoics remind us, life is fragile, uncertain, and limited. Time cannot be reclaimed. Every wasted moment is gone forever. But the present is yours. You can choose how to use it. You can focus your mind, act decisively, guard your attention, and cultivate virtue by valuing time, acting in the present, resisting distraction, choosing worthy pursuits, reflecting daily, practicing discipline, saying no, cultivating stillness, and resisting comparison. You build a life that is meaningful, steady, and resilient. A life lived this way may not be easy, but it is full. It is a life that honors the gift of each day. It is a life that, when looked back upon, leaves no room for regret. The Stoics teach us that greatness is not measured in fame, wealth, or comfort, but in the care we give to each day, the strength we cultivate in ourselves, and the virtue we bring into the world. So begin today. Take the first step in action, reflection, or stillness. Guard your time, focus your mind, shape your character. Each moment is an opportunity. Do not let it pass unnoticed. Live fully. Live intentionally. Live like a Stoic.